Bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken Live, episode number 112. Click and subscribe to our brand new independent news source. Turn on the notification bell. Then you'll be alerted to our new live shows, Uncancelled Interviews, Special Royal Episodes 2. Breaking right now, the UK, officially a joke country under Two Tier Keir. I'm sorry, that is my only conclusion. After this truly sickening decision to award failed London Mayor Sadiq Khan a knighthood and make Emily Thornberry a Dane. What the hell? I'll explain why I'll never refer to Sir Sadiq in my digest next. And then I'm delighted to say YouTube sensation Paul Thorpe is my guest for the entire show today. We'll also be discussing Reform UK's poll surge, but why Paul still has some reservations about Nigel Farage. We'll go into it. The question time clash of the year between Farage and Alastair Campbell. Don't worry, I watched so you didn't have to, and we'll decode the best bits. And Paul is fresh from visiting Tommy Robinson behind bars. He'll reveal what he found out. Then, in the uncancelled after show, Angela Levin on Prince Harry's most delusional interview yet. Remember, the uncancelled after show now broadcast exclusively daily and on demand on Substack, which you can Google to, or just hit www.outspoken.live into your browser. That's the front page that you will see. If you just enter your email address in that little space, then you will get access to all the after shows, my exclusive reporting and columns, plus Substack's a really great community, opportunity to chat to me direct. Honestly, it's really focused on free speech as well. If you can, and let me stress, there is an option to sign up completely for free because I understand how tough times are and I just want you part of the community. If you can and you do want to support Outspoken though, you can sign up from just £5 a month plus VAT if you're in the UK, and that allows me to continue making our independent daily news show. But now, let's go. I'm really sorry, but I can no longer take our honours system, actually, or this government, or our establishment seriously whatsoever. And I mean, look, it's been heading this way for a while, of course, but the decision to make the man who has quite literally destroyed the city in which I have lived for the past 20 years, well, that's the final straw for me. Sadiq Khan should actually be locked up. He should be locked up for what he has done to formerly the greatest city in the world, which is now a crime-ridden sectarian hellhole where no one is safe to hold a phone or wear a watch anywhere in public, and where there are multiple no-go areas. A city where it is now impossible to get anywhere, especially if you commit the ultimate sin of wanting to drive. So, Sir Sadiq Khan, my ass, never, ever, ever. And with decisions like this, we deserve to be a laughingstock. I'm done. I'm out. We are finished. Because look, I just want to look at this fool. Let's just remind ourselves about Sadiq Khan. As World by Wolf pointed out on X, watch Sadiq Khan give a speech at a conference where the black flag of jihad was flying. Khan calls the audience his brothers and sisters, a reminder that Khan has extensive ties to Islamic extremists, convicted terrorists, and terrorist sympathizers. Here is that video.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Brothers, sisters, respected elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I want to begin by saying congratulations to, as British Muslims, we are a vital part of.
Then once he got into power, let's have a look at his sell to that Islamist base.
Every Londoner who is on low income or not working will get free training to go to the schools for jobs that are created in London, really important in this great city. The other big issue faced in London, is particularly Londoners of Islamic faith, is the issue of housing. And so we need to build far more homes in our city because, often people from minority communities want to live near a mosque, near halal food, near places where there are other people like them, so they for a variety of obvious reasons. And they're priced out because there's not enough housing. So we're going to build at least 40,000 council homes, at least 6,000 rent control homes. And the final thing to say in relation to Londoners who are Muslim is, look, one of our strengths is our diversity. It's something I'm really proud of. I've organised, since I've been mayor, events like Eid in the Square, Ramadan Nights, and so forth. Why is that important? It gives a sense of belonging.
Okay, so that's how he sold it. But now I want to cross to my friend Leo Kurz, who actually reveals the reality.
London's Mayor Sadiq Khan is a far-left extremist whose city gives state-funded social housing to Hamas terror chiefs and who's represented Islamists and called jihadists his friends, although he has since said that he regrets giving the impression that he shared their views. So is anyone surprised that his police force behaves like this?
Sometimes a slip of the tongue reveals someone's truth, and I think this interview on Slide News showed that best.
I'm only going upon what I've read in the media, so I've not seen the transcripts, but as far as I'm concerned, that sort of language isn't acceptable, and it certainly shouldn't be acceptable in a party like mine that is proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic.
And we'll come back to some of those.
Also anti-Semitic. Yep. Truth. Khan's rhetoric about Donald Trump, the democratically elected president of the USA, has been divisive and destructive. And of course, any criticism of this waster, if you criticize Sadiq Khan at all, you just must be racist, right?
If I wasn't this colour skin, if I wasn't practicing Muslim, he would not come for me. He wasn't coming for me because I'm 5'6", right? He's come for me because of, let's be frank, my ethnicity and my religion.
No. He's come for you because you have ruined London. But it's that sort of racism rhetoric that is all Khan can confidently talk about.
I think this is the greatest city in the world. The diversity is one of the reasons why it's great. Do you regret supporting Donald Trump, who's a racist, sexist and homophobe? Do you regret liking Enoch Powell? Do you regret liking Lee Anderson, the Islamophobe? Will you apologise unequivocally for having those sorts of views and promise to be a mayor, if you win, that unites communities rather than your record of dividing them?
I do not divide communities. I support all communities. I come from Harrow, where it's the most diverse borough in London, I'd say. It's incredible. And actually, if you look at all
Are you going to apologise or not?
No, if you look at all communities, we've all got the same values. We all believe in hard work. We all believe in family, and we all believe in fairness. And we should all look at people in that way. We've all got the same values.
No apology for Trump, for Enoch Powell or Lee Anderson. You're unfit to be the mayor.
See, a screeching, embarrassing backpedal, however, once Americans had spoken.
Sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, racist. You've returned to that accusation that you made previously. What does that achieve?
Well, no, it's really important that we put out a hand of friendship to President-elect Trump. I wish him well.
You can't have it both ways. You can't call his policies sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic and racist and put out a hand of friendship at the same time.
Well, I think...
No, you can't. Look, London is finished under Sadiq. I've got to show you something from GB News this morning. This is extraordinary. This is the best defence that a Khan ally could give for him.
My shoulder to see I don't get my phone stolen out of my hand, constantly seeing people getting mugged and hearing about horrific attacks, knife crime in particular. London isn't safe, and it isn't a good place to live if you're particularly a hard-working tradesman.
Well, I recognise absolutely that people do feel unsafe walking around, women in particular, so I'm not dismissing that at all. And my own son was mugged for his phone a couple of weeks ago in Soho, so it is something we're concerned about, of course, as citizens, as parents. But it's not unique to London. Every city has its problems. And I would say London is a lot safer than many cities. There aren't any sort of no-go areas in London. As long as you're sensible and you stay to lit areas and go around with a friend, it's a lot safer than some other places, New York, for example.
It's safe. I promise it's safe. Oh, but my son, he was mugged the other day in Soho. What the hell? Of course, this shower of a government also intends to create a monster in... I actually can't believe I'm about to say it. Wait for it. Dame Emily Thornberry. This is her reward for Starmer refusing to put her in his cabinet. I mean, it's a bit like Boots giving Adjoa Ando their Christmas ad after her terribly white balcony comment, because let's just remember Thornberry hates the English. Do you remember this tweet that saw her forced out of the shadow cabinet? Because this is Labour, where proudly waving the St. George's flag makes you a degenerate in their view. The same party that champions extreme Islamists and turns a blind eye to paedophiles. So I repeat, I am done. But now, the uncancelled interview. And such a pleasure today to have joining Outspoken for the first time, Paul Thorpe, who of course was one of the UK's leading independent watch dealers, but he is now an influential independent journalist, a huge YouTube channel, which I love, and a campaigner for social justice. Paul Thorpe, so great to have you on Outspoken for the first time today.
Oh, thank you, Dan. It's a real honour and a great pleasure. And thank you for all the work that you do.
You too, Paul, you too. And in fact, you have been pointing out for some time the complete catastrophe in London, right? So I saw this, this was just your X post the other day. You wrote, watching footage from London this weekend and seeing how the Met Police allow so much law breaking and anti-Semitism makes me utterly ashamed of our so-called police. Your job is to protect Londoners, not to pander to terrorist sympathisers. Nazi salutes, Hamas symbols, calls for no peace. What the actual F are you doing? But the thing is, Paul, that's the Met Police. Who's the boss of the Met Police? Sir Sadiq Khan.
Oh, I mean, what a litany of horrors that you've already been through this morning, Dan. I mean, what I'd like to know is, what has this man done to warrant a knighthood? And who thinks, is there anyone out there that thinks that this is a good idea? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And this is just the final blow and another added insult to injury to all Londoners, particularly Londoners like myself who have been long exiled from the capital city that I was born in. And I think the thought of Sadiq Khan receiving a knighthood will be vomit-inducing for most of us. Here is a man that has single-handedly destroyed our capital city, made it an unsafe place to be, and he's done more damage than the bloody Luftwaffe. So I'm completely baffled.
Yeah, I know. And then Emily Thornberry too. And Emily Thornberry, most famous for her complete derision of proud English folk who fly the St. George's flag. And does that not just sum up Labour to you?
Well, it just tells exactly what they think of the average English working class individual, doesn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, this is not the old Labour Party that my grandfather used to support, a World War I veteran. This is a Labour Party that's been heavily infiltrated and infested by Islamists and the far left.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. I mean, can London be saved, Paul, or is it too late?
Dan, that's a really good question. My hope is that it's never too late. We never give up the fight. But London is almost a unique city now. It's a microclimate within the UK. And when I hear people say it's not a dangerous place, it's okay if you go around when it's light and you've got a friend with you. It was never like that when I was growing up. And I spent years in the luxury watch business, as you've already highlighted, warning people of the dangers of luxury watch crime, of theft, of violent crime in London. And I've sat back because I have friends in the Met who, in the flying squad in particular, who have worked tirelessly to slow down the rate of watch crime. And their frustration when they spend months on an operation, they eventually arrest a gang, only for them to be given suspended sentences for violent crimes. So is London finished? Well, unless we get a mayor or and a government in charge that genuinely cares about Londoners, genuinely cares about the city's reputation, and genuinely cares about the safety of everyone, no matter what race or creed or colour they are, cares about the safety of Londoners, then we have a huge problem.
I mean, Paul, you obviously, a lot of people know, made your name as a watch dealer. Now, I'm constantly saying to folk now, you're crazy if you go out and you wear an expensive watch in London.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as I said, for years, I've been warning my viewers before I pivoted to politics. I've been on national TV talking about the dangers of watch crime. I haven't seen the latest figures for a long time, but then it probably would or wouldn't surprise some of the viewers to know that there are dozens of luxury watch thefts taking place in our capital city every single day of the week. Many of those are violent. Some of them have led to the loss of life, but what they all lead to is the loss of something inside you. I've been the victim of theft on 3 occasions, one of them a very violent occurrence. And this is something that never leaves you. You do not get over the experience of being violently robbed. That is a life sentence.
I totally agree.
And what I see, it stays with you forever.
No, it really does. I mean, I've been mugged twice since Sadiq became mayor. There was another attempt, and the attempt was 2 guys on the back of a motorcycle, completely hooded. They may have been armed, but you know what it's like, Paul. Your instinct, your human instinct, is not just to hand over your property to these thugs, and I didn't. But you know, the terrible thing is what, you know, you start thinking, maybe I should have, maybe you just give in. Do you not stand up for yourself? Do you not stand up for other people? That is the terrible state of where Sadiq Khan has left London. And now he's been honoured. Can't believe it.
Oh, it's shocking. But it also leads us into another subject, which is probably for another day, but it's, you know, self-defence. In the UK, the ability for us to be able to defend ourselves legally has pretty much been taken away from us. We are sitting ducks, we're sitting targets. And if the police, if the mayor, if the government can't ensure our safety, then it's time they started to consider that we should be allowed to defend ourselves and to prepare to defend ourselves, especially in our place of work or our place at home.
Paul Thorpe, I have to talk to you about Nigel Farage. You've been causing waves over the past couple of weeks. So let me just set this up for everyone. So this was your post on X. You wrote, "I'm sorry, but since he became an MP, Nigel Farage has done nothing to convince me that he's the man to lead reform to victory. His heavily diluted rhetoric, pandering to a certain demographic and throwing patriots under the bus hasn't gone down well. But his attempt at belittling Ben Habib was the final straw. He's not for me, and he's not the leader we need. Nigel Farage insists reform has been fully democratised. Well, let's see a leadership vote that includes Ben Habib and see who the people really believe in." But then you decided to give Nigel a little bit of Christmas forgiveness spirit. And also, this video was also addressed at the Reform UK Deputy Leader Richard Tice. Let's watch.
So, Ebenezer Farage and Richard Scrooge are unquestionably on a lot of people's naughty list as we head towards Christmas. And after weeks of putting their hoof in it and telling their own band of helpers to basically elf off, and generally making a bit of a bar humbug of themselves, maybe there is still time for giving before the end of the year and the chance to reconcile a relationship with millions of ordinary Brits whose Christmas wish list just contains a party with a leader whose sack is made of steel.
Whose sack is made of steel. Okay, so Paul, let's talk about this. Have you given up on Nigel Farage for good, or do you hope that you can push him where you think Reform UK needs to be?
Well, look, Dan, we're trying. I visited Tommy yesterday, and we'll come on to that probably later. But the hope, we need a leader. Dan, we need a leader. We need someone that can unite this country, that can unite the centre-right, unite us patriots, unite everyone that is good in our hearts. And we need to become one. All this splintering will not win us the next general election. And when I say us, I mean all of us, because we are basically all, I think, on the same side trying to row the same boat. However, that being said, as Ben Habib rightly said the other day, and I think Ben's been smashing it out of the park,
He
quite
has.
frankly, I have to say. He has. And he has everyone's respect, Ben. You're not going to win a general election by dividing your vote, by splitting your vote, by telling a very large percentage, proportion of your voters that actually you're one of that lot and you're not wanted here. That is not the right message. Now, my message to Nigel today would be the same as Tommy relayed to me yesterday. And if you want, I'll go into that right now.
Yes, please do. Please do.
So visiting Tommy yesterday, he has asked everyone not to turn their backs on reform and Nigel Farage for the moment at least. And he's firmly of the belief that the bigger picture here is far more important than any one person, whether that be Nigel or Tommy himself. If we're going to win the next general election, there must be a reconciliation. There absolutely must be a reconciliation. And again, we hold this movement, the United Kingdom movement, which I'm proudly a part of. Again, we hold out our hand to Nigel and to reform. They don't have to, we're not asking them to have Tommy standing on a stage next to Nigel necessarily. We're not asking for that. We know that that would be politically dangerous. But what we do need is a bunch of flowers, is some reconciliation, is an agreement and an acknowledgement that their supporters are our supporters are their supporters. United we stand, divided we fall, Nigel.
Wow, that is a really powerful message from Tommy, one that I certainly agree with. What's interesting is I'm still not quite sure that we know really what Nigel thinks about this, because I had Howard Cox on the show. This was a few weeks ago now. Now, Howard, very much part of the Reform UK movement. He was Reform's candidate for the Mayor of London. And he said that after Richard Tice made those that lot comments to Camilla Tominey on GB News, he had a text message exchange with Nigel Farage where Nigel said that Richard had gone too far. So I think probably, Paul, I'm a little bit more forgiving than you when it comes to Nigel, and I'll explain why. So I've worked with Nigel. I was with him for 3 years at GB News. I think he's a thoroughly decent human being. And when I was going through my really tough time and most of the presenters at GB News turned their back on me, Nigel never did. However, I think Nigel is acutely conscious of what he says in public, because he knows that the mainstream media are out for his blood and are out to cancel him at any opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean that I agree with the approach that Reform UK is taking, for example, on its candidates with offence archaeology. I mean, I found it crazy that they got rid of really good people because they had posted something about liking Tommy Robinson. For me, that's crazy. But I don't believe yet the solution is just to say, Nigel, you're not the answer, because I think Nigel is a strategic genius. He proved that with Brexit, and he is playing a game which is a bit of a softly approach at this point.
I would agree, Dan, with much of what you said there. I think he is a strategist, and I think he has to be very careful how he treads. However, it's not a good strategy, in my opinion, to throw who is, in my opinion, probably the most popular working class individual in the country under a bus on more than one occasion. My parents always taught me when I was younger that if I haven't got anything good to say about someone, it's probably best to try and say nothing at all. And at the end of the day, Nigel, and in particular Richard, time and time again, have thrown Tommy and therefore our movement under a bus. Now, Dan, I have never been in trouble with the police in my life. I have no criminal record. I've been a completely clean living, decent human being and individual, yet I cannot join Reform. That's a problem. That's a problem for me and a problem for a lot of other people like me. Now, like Tommy, we will all look at the bigger picture, and if there was a general election tomorrow, I would probably vote Reform. In fact, I'm sure I would. However, that doesn't mean to say that we can't act as a good, solid pressure group to try and ensure that Nigel's message, that Nigel's party continues down a proper patriotic path that we need, which would include deportations, which Nigel recently went soft on and then kind of flipped
Reversed.
again in a later interview, reversed. These are the things that we are unsure of. We need a man of steel. We need a real leader. We need a Trump-esque type individual. And for the moment, at the moment, for me, that man is more Ben Habib than Nigel Farage. Will Nigel deliver the goods ultimately down the line? Let's hope and pray, because this, I believe, is our last chance.
Yeah, that's the issue. And I think, I mean, I agree with you. It is our last chance. I mean, it may even be too late, Paul, on a few areas, but we have to keep hope, don't we? We have to keep hope. We love this country, and we've got to keep the faith. And I think in some ways that's why I am quite determined. That's why it's very interesting to hear that message that you've delivered from Tommy Robinson behind bars, because I don't think we need the right to completely splinter at this point. Now, that's not to say I don't agree with Ben Habib on much of what he says, because I really do. And I think he's a brilliant man. And I have been public in the fact that I thought Nigel's dismissal of Ben and then his celebration of him leaving the party was a low point. But
not good.
No, it wasn't good. And I'm prepared to say it wasn't good. It was grim, you know. But, and this is where again I come to a but. The thing is with these great big charismatic leaders, right, Paul, and it's the same thing with Trump, sometimes they go off script. They go off piece. None of Nigel's advisors would have said, oh yeah, it's a really good idea for you to celebrate Ben Habib leaving and say, pop the champagne corks and, you know, alienate all of your base. But it's a bit like, you know, when Trump used to tweet things that his advisors would say, oh, you know, that's terrible. But there's something about a leader who just says what they feel. And we're not always going to agree with what they feel or how they express it. But sometimes is it not just important that Nigel does say what he feels? Because look at the robotic leaders that we have in government at the moment.
Look, Dan, again, I'm going to agree. But what I would caveat that with that is that, listen, if Nigel is a man of the people, and I believe in many respects, I believe that he is, and I do have a lot of respect for him. It's time now in politics in general that we saw a human side of people as well. This is why Tommy is so loved, because he constantly offers you his human side. Now, we can all forgive Nigel for going off piece and saying things that he might have wished he'd worded a bit better later on, retrospectively. But why not come back and explain that? You know, we are all reasonable, ordinary human beings. And if someone makes a mistake and they come and say, well, you know what, maybe I could have put that better. Maybe I should have reworded that in a different way. Maybe I should explain myself a little bit more just to endear myself to the British public, to the working class in particular, why I said that, why I perhaps didn't put it over in the way in which it was meant. I think people would love that. I think people love a bit of humility. They would respect Nigel more if he was to be a little bit more explanatory. And by the way, Dan, can I say that Nigel spends a lot of his time trying to appease the mainstream media, a mainstream media that he will never appease.
Totally. Well, that is where I agree with you 110%. Just give it up, Nigel. It doesn't mean you don't have to do the interviews with them, but do what Trump does. Go in knowing
war.
that exactly, this is a war. Totally. And embrace the independent media. Nigel should be on your show. He should be speaking directly to the people. He is incredible on his own social media channels. Really, really good at that. But that's where I agree. Trump knew that the mainstream media was the enemy. And I don't think Nigel does quite believe that.
Not realised it yet. Absolutely. I mean, look, Reform's current surge, look, it is great. But what they need to know is, and what they need to understand, Dan, is that we are their foot soldiers, potentially. We are their campaigners. You know, that is us, potentially. We're going to be the ones that gets out on the streets, campaigns, delivers leaflets. We have the biggest people's movement in this country, and most of us cannot join Reform. We need unity. And
well, I
only
wouldn't be
Nigel
able to
can
join
deliver
reform.
that.
I mean, I stay
Exactly.
politically independent, right? So I would never join a political party, but I think it's utterly crazy that here I am, someone who, worked in the mainstream media for all of these years, pretty much considered, a centrist in lots of ways. Although now, of course, Paul, you know what it's like. I'm branded far right, which is obviously completely ludicrous. However, I wouldn't be able to join Reform either. And I do think that is a big, big problem for Reform, because they would say that my comments on Tommy Robinson publicly would exclude me. Well, what are they going to do about Alex Phillips, who I think is one of their biggest stars and will probably end up, if Reform UK end up forming government, she would end up in the cabinet. She would be a cabinet minister. Well, she's been on this show praising Tommy Robinson, saying that she got it wrong. So, this reckoning is coming. However, I do want to show you the poll, though, the big poll, because I guess it does show you Nigel is getting something right. Look at this. So Conservatives on 26%, but the big move, Reform UK up to 24%, ahead for the first time of the governing Labour Party, which drops to 23%. And you have to admit, Paul, that is an extraordinary achievement. After a short space of time, they only have 5 MPs, but they are making so much noise than the entire official Conservative opposition, which is basically finished. So I assume that Nigel's response to you, Paul, would be, well, look, it's working at the moment. So you've got to have some faith in me.
Oh, I agree. And I wouldn't particularly or necessarily argue with that. My answer to that would be, well, you know what, Nigel, you should actually be miles out in front of everyone. If only you would unite everyone, and you have the capability of doing that. And I think it should be done, when I say covertly, I think there needs to be talks. There needs to be a bunch of flowers. As I said earlier on, we can all come together, win our country back, and start getting us back to where we should be. One of the world, if not the world's leading democracy. The democracy that so many other countries around the globe has modelled themselves on. We are currently a laughingstock around the world, and we need to get back to being the greatest country on earth like we once was.
Yeah, very, very good point. And look, I describe myself as a critical friend of Reform UK and Nigel Farage, and hopefully they're going to see over the next few months and years the importance of the independent media, because look at what's just happened in the US election. But I want to move on to the mainstream media now, Paul Thorpe, because last night there was a clash of the Titans on the BBC's Question Time. Now, I don't watch this show anymore because it's completely crooked, completely biased. The audience members are stacked with lefties, and they do everything possible. Anytime there's even a centre-right person on the Question Time panel, they do everything possible to demonise them. So I've stopped watching. However, I made an exception over last night's show because it was the clash of the Question Time Titans with the insane Ramona, Alastair Campbell, a guy who should be in prison as a war criminal, but instead is given constant platforms on the BBC, versus Nigel Farage, making only his second appearance on the show since 2019. And as you can imagine, it really kicked off. So I want to decode this with you, Paul. So let's watch along. This was the first moment where Alastair Campbell decided every problem in the country is of good TV. But what did you make of it?
Well, I think Alastair Campbell's a deplorable individual. I'm not a big fan of horror movies, so not having got home until very late last night, I didn't want to go to bed and have bad dreams. I mean, any show that contains Jackie Smith and Alastair Campbell really should carry a XXX rated, But Dan, look, my answer, look, what Brexit? We never got the Brexit that we wanted. Exactly. We never got the Brexit that we asked for. None of the Brexit things that we voted for have been properly implemented by consecutive Conservative governments. So what Brexit is he even talking about to start with?
Exactly, 1.2 million flooded in last year. I mean, it's a joke. But what was interesting, Paul, was that despite the fact that the BBC really tries to stack these audiences, I'm really interested in your view on this. It feels like this sea change is even sneaking into the Question Time studio. Watch this couple of minutes. And did you hear there, Paul, the chortling in the audience, laughing as if that woman who actually has expressed the view of the majority of the population is, again, as, do you remember Gordon Brown? That bigoted woman. But she's not bigoted, is she? Because we know it's a fact that the vast majority of people that come here illegally are not fleeing war.
There's no war in France. The bottom line is this: there's no war in Ireland, there's no war in France, there's no war in any of the countries that can get a boat to the UK quickly, as in like from Calais to Dover, etc. So they're not fleeing war; they're fleeing France. They're fleeing countries that they're already free and safe within. So fleeing war just doesn't wash with me whatsoever. But look, Dan, you're right. You can fool all of the people some of the time, some of the people all the time. But this government and previous governments were never going to fool all of the people all of the time. And the country is now, I would say slowly, but I would now say rapidly waking up and seeing what's unfolding right in front of their very eyes.
Well, look at the growth of your channel. I mean, things are changing because people are feeling they don't need to go and watch BBC to get their news, and they don't. But see, this is there was a moment last night, and I thought this is why we need Farage, because remember, there has to be sort of a dismantling of what the Conservative Party did to this country in terms of immigration, and very few people make that argument. And there was a brilliant moment where Nigel just completely tore apart the Tory on the panel. Look at this. I thought that was his strongest moment of the night, Paul.
Absolutely. Here, well said, Nigel. I mean, I go along with absolutely every single word that he said. And did you notice the lack of applause from the audience? Not one person applauded that. Not one.
And they should have. But there was one other moment I wanted to show you because, again, have you noticed the BBC don't even want to talk about the political prisoners, about the two-tier justice? They want to pretend it's not happening. And Nigel burst that bubble last night, and it is fascinating to see the reaction, which is one of panic. And they're trying to deny, I mean, Paul, they're literally trying to deny that Lucy Connolly isn't serving over 2 years in prison for a post on X, the wife of the Tory councillor Raymond Connolly. Julie Sweeney, the grandmother, the full-time carer.
The list goes on.
Yeah, I mean,
and
exactly.
And by the way, the point about the Manchester airport attackers was a very, very mute one, because at the end of the day, there are still no charges, of I'm aware at least, that have been laid against those people.
Indeed. So look, I hear everything you're saying about Reform UK, about Nigel. I didn't agree with Ben Habib, but I still think at the moment they are our best hope, and that's why it's very interesting to hear what Tommy Robinson had to say to you about that. But I want to talk much more about what you discovered yesterday when you visited Tommy behind bars and get an update on that whole situation. So do stand by, Paul. Back with you in just 1 minute. But first, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something better to share with you. And if you want to look sharp for those festive gatherings, which you certainly do, and maybe win that Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, you've got to check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, which is the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, this is a brilliant product. I use it. It guides you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. So let's dive into the goods. The Chairman Pro is armed with not one, but 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Think of them as your grooming superheroes. It's the skin-safe 4-blade foil for when you want that baby's bottom smooth, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble, like I do, but just clean it up a little bit. Both keep you looking sharp while minimising razor burn and irritation, because no one wants to show up to the holiday party, right, looking like they lost a fight with the Christmas tree. But wait, there's more. The Chairman Pro has Flex Adjust technology, which is basically like the holiday miracle of shaving. It's like Santa's elves made it just for you. The blades and pivoting head adjust to every corner of your face, and it's gentle on the neck area as if they had the gift of foresight. So go ahead, kiss that awkward jawline patch goodbye. No more pretending it doesn't exist while you hope nobody notices under the mistletoe. And if you want even more precision, on the right side of the bracket, there's a precision lock. So when you lock it, the blade head sits firm so you can achieve a more precise shave. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof, so you can use it right in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't just make shaving easier, it also simplifies cleanup too. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. The Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle up to 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you'll have plenty of juice to go from Santa's beard to smooth as a snow angel. It even has a travel lock to help make sure it doesn't accidentally turn on in your bag, and an LED spotlight to help you see every detail, ensuring nothing gets missed. So get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. It had everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling its best, and it's all in one box. So head on over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide. I'm one of them who trust Manscaped by using the code Outspoken for free shipping and 20% off. That's www.manscaped.com. Use the coupon code Outspoken. You get free shipping and 20% off. But now, back to the show. Breaking right now, Paul Thorpe has visited Tommy Robinson in prison, and he has lots of major news. So Paul Thorpe, great to have you back on Outspoken. What did you learn yesterday at Woodhull?
Well, first of all, Dan, can I say that for a man that is spending 21 hours of every day locked up alone in solitary confinement, I thought that his physical and mental state were as good as we could hope, probably better than we could hope. He has a couple of small windows that he can open and just about see the outside world. But bearing in mind that it's pretty much dark at, 3:30, 4 o'clock?
Yes.
He's spending 15 hours a day, maybe a bit more, pretty much in darkness on his own. This is basically mental torture in many respects. He's a Category D civil prisoner in a high-risk Cat B prison in solitary confinement. And it's absolutely obscene. That's the first thing that I just want to get out there for everyone.
No, it is. It's obscene.
The officers, the prison staff there are treating him very well. He's eating canned food only. He's getting a bit of exercise every day in the morning. He's allowed to have a shower.
Sorry to interrupt, Paul, but is he eating canned food only because of the risk of contamination and poisoning?
Yeah. So if you can imagine living on tins of tuna,
not nice.
You get an idea of what his life is on a day-to-day basis. But in general, he's in good spirits. He's looking forward to coming home. He has a release date, which I'm not permitted at the moment to reveal. But he has a release date. He's looking forward to getting out. We have another event planned for September. More news on that will follow. I think the big news is that, look, as I said earlier, he wants to reach out to reform. He wants to reach out and unite everyone and make sure that we all get together. He's looking forward to coming out and signing the pledge, which I'm sure you're aware of. That's another thing that he's very much looking forward to. And he's also given me the task, which is quite a daunting one. Tommy has a massive ambition and a will to go to America and to meet Elon Musk and to meet Donald Trump. And we will be working very, very, very hard to try and make sure that happens. But do you know what, Dan? It was a very emotional afternoon because he was so pleased to see myself and Liam Tufts, who has been friends with Tommy for many years. And I spoke about this earlier. Of all the things that Tommy could have been talking about, of all the things that could have been on his mind, the number one thing that he wanted to relay to me was his gratitude to every single person that has shown him respect, shown him support, written to him in jail, emailed him, people like yourself that have been talking about him, keeping him in the limelight, and more than anything, the ordinary, average, everyday viewer of your channel and mine, he wanted to send them his sincere gratitude. And as we hugged when we left, I moved forward to the door to go out the visited area. And he came back to me a second time and he said, Paul, please make sure that everyone knows how grateful I really am. And it was a very, very emotional moment.
Wow. And I mean, there's so much concern. I have people messaging me all the time from the Outspoken family about it. Now, look, couple of things I want to pick up on there, Paul. Obviously, the most important thing is safety, right? And, you know, I've spoken to two people have been locked up in recent weeks because of the Southport massacre cover-up. So Cameron Bell and Mark Heath. Mark Heath pled guilty, so he was only locked up while he was awaiting his trial. But both of them received serious intimidation, and in Mark's case, he was beaten up by an Asian gang in prison. You're obviously saying that Tommy's food is controlled because he's eating out of cans, which is great because obviously it takes away the risk of contamination or a deliberate poisoning. But has he been under any physical threat from what you understand in prison?
No, I think he's safe. I think the prison is ensuring that he stays safe. He did say that, you know, some of the warders that have been coming around, in particular, the pastor, and there was a Muslim lady as well that comes to visit the prison, have been very, very nice to him indeed. And I think he's perfectly safe for now, at least. But I think the biggest worry for me, Dan, is that whilst at the moment he is currently physically and mentally in a good place, he's only 6 weeks into his sentence.
Mm-hmm.
He has a long journey ahead. And we have the Christmas period coming up. We asked the prison guards, does anything different happen here at Christmas? Are there any decorations going to be around? Is there a Christmas dinner? And the answer to that was no, it's like every other day. Good. So Tommy faces many, many more months of hell. He should be moved down to a Cat D so that he can get weekend visits at home. He doesn't belong in a Cat B prison, and he certainly doesn't belong in solitary confinement. But is he safe? Thank God, I believe he is.
Well, that's good news, but of course he doesn't belong there. I mean, he's been jailed for citizen journalism. It's ludicrous. It's terrifying. It's chilling. And it's really interesting, actually, that he wants to meet with Elon Musk. I have a feeling someone like Jordan Peterson will make that happen because actually Musk has been on this case. He has been posting, asking the question. He actually shames the mainstream media in this country, doesn't he? Because he is the one that's asking the question, why is he even in prison? Why is he even in prison? I mean, Americans can't understand this, Paul, because of the First Amendment. The idea that you could be locked up for, I mean, I say citizen journalism, it's not citizen journalism, is it? It's actually professional journalism. That's what Tommy Robinson has been doing for some time. But it's the fact that the establishment and the media elite have their absolute snobbery about the working classes and about this belief that you can't consider Tommy Robinson a journalist, which I absolutely do. In the same way, by the way, that I thought Cameron Bell was just doing citizen journalism when she was live streaming on TikTok the unrest in Tamworth, which saw her locked up with a 9-month sentence. Now, what's interesting to me, Paul, is that looking ahead, obviously Tommy has given this very positive message in terms of Reform UK, which I think is really interesting and will certainly unite the right for some time. There is obviously part of his movement that would like to see Tommy actually set up a political arm. But your suggestion seems to be that that's not where he's heading.
I don't think so. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, is that Tommy is happy to work with the right people. Now, who are the right people? I think, just my own opinion, Ben Habib would be very workable with. I think there are a lot of people that Tommy could work with, but they have to be receptive and they have to understand the real Tommy. Actually, they need to meet Stephen Lennon, not Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
Because Stephen Lennon is a different character in many ways to Tommy Robinson. Now, this is what the establishment might want to fear in the future. If Elon Musk gets to meet Stephen Lennon and he finds out the real person, they're going to get on like a house on fire. And then all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah, I mean...
So that's something that I'm very much hoping that we can manage to achieve, get set up, and then we can really see some action.
Chris Davies, who runs True Conservative Media, has a concern that the state's intention is just to keep locking Tommy up, to just find reasons, as spurious as they are, over the next 5 years to just keep him behind bars. Does Tommy have a concern about that, or is he very much focused on when he's released staying out? Because, of course, the problem is that staying out sometimes means going against things that he deeply and passionately believes in, for example, silenced.
Tommy's a man of principles. He will do whatever he feels is right. He will do what he feels right for himself and for his country. And if that means going back to jail, I believe he will be prepared to do that. Remember, This is a man that could have had a reduced sentence if he'd have agreed to remove the film. And he turned the opportunity down. Tommy will die on his principles. I've never known anyone like him. I've never had the privilege to meet anyone like him. And more people are slowly discovering the real man behind the myth, the monster myth that the media have created. And when they unravel the real person, the real human being, and the real motives of why he does what he does, all of a sudden we have a new character, we have a new era. The United Kingdom has its own version, probably not the best example, but we have our own Nelson Mandela, but he's bigger and he will be bigger than Nelson Mandela.
Well, the thing is, it's going to be the independent media that unlocks this, isn't it? And not just in this country. I mean, it is fascinating. Brits who are confused should go and watch Jordan Peterson's interview, shouldn't they? They should go and see how a true international hero like Peterson views Tommy Robinson. Because the problem is, and Paul, I was in that mainstream media ecosystem for all of this time. I mean, thank God I'm out of it now because I'm free to have conversations like this. But the problem is, I'm just honest. When you are caught within that system, you basically, if you're not prepared to condemn Tommy, you just have to not say anything. That's the only answer. And, this is the problem. And that's why people have to... and look, if people are watching me, if they're watching you, they've already done that. That's the problem. But the great thing is more and more people, I guess, are waking up and discovering. Because anytime you see Tommy Robinson, right, on one of these big American independent shows, I've watched him with, Ann Coulter and, really good respect, Glenn Beck, good, highly respectable big names in the American media. They have none of the baggage that we have in the UK because they don't have the mainstream media in America pumping lies and disinformation into their head. So they just look at the case like as a news story, and it's so refreshing to see, actually.
Yeah, and I think that Tommy is so focused right now when he gets out, where he's going, what he's going to do. I think we're going to see a new, updated, even more mature, even more focused Tommy when he comes out.
Well, I'm excited.
Because remember, for a long time, he's had this hanging over his head.
Yeah, well, I'm excited because the thing is, Paul, do you know the thing I hate the most? And again, I understand why people do it, but that's why I found Alex Phillips so refreshing on my show when she just said, no, I've been avoiding your question. I'm going to answer your question directly. I think he's wonderful. They were her words. She's one of Nigel Farage's closest allies in the world. So that was a significant moment to me. her interviewing Tommy Robinson was a significant moment. But the thing that I hate, and Tommy Robinson said this in his interview with Alex Phillips, and I refuse to do, it's the, oh, Tommy Robinson is this, but I just can't stand that. So I think that all has to change, and you don't get that in the American independent media or with you. And look, Paul, it's so brilliant to have you on Outspoken. It's why your channel is completely exploding, and hopefully there it is. Really, really recommend people subscribe.
Thank you, Dan.
And actually, I was watching this morning, and there is much, much more from Paul on his visit with Tommy Robinson in a special extended edition. So if you've had your appetite whet, then you can go and watch that now. Thank you so much for being here today, Paul.
All the best.
Speak soon. But now, do stay with us, though, because coming up in the uncancelled after show, Angela Levin is in the house. And my goodness, Angela, we have so much to discuss today because, of course, I would say actually it was probably Prince Harry's most disturbing and delusional interviews yet. And that is really saying something. So Angela Levin is standing by. She is with me in just 1 minute because we moved to Substack, www.outspoken.live. It is our membership section where you get half an hour of extra content every day. All you have to do is sign up for a paid monthly membership. But don't worry, you can also subscribe to Outspoken on Substack completely for free to join our wider community, and I really, really would appreciate it. www.outspoken.live. It just means that I have a direct relationship with you. I can email you a couple of times a week to let you know what's going on. It's a really important thing because it sort of breaks down that, I guess, that barrier that we have here on YouTube or Rumble, because I can't communicate with you directly if something goes wrong here. Whereas if you're on Substack, I can. So www.outspoken.live. Please, all I ask is that you sign up. We are back, goodness me, here Monday. Yeah, it's Friday. God, what a long week. 5 p.m. UK time Monday, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I hope you have a wonderful, brilliant, restful weekend. Most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you, but I do hope that I'll see you on the after show with Angela Levin in just 1 moment.